Hello, 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 YouTube. How are you guys doing today on this good, terrific Tuesday? Turn it around Tuesday, tell the truth Tuesday. Tread lightly Tuesday. This good second day of the week. Thank you so much for joining me on Real Talk Therapy 101 with your girl Ebony. Hopefully, if you're new to the channel, you started out on yesterday hearing about the bio of the channel, or you can go back to past episodes to let you know who I am, what the channel was designed for, and what we do here on Real Talk Therapy. And for those of you, my good old faithfuls, thank you so much for coming back time and time again and supporting me in this venture as I try to help us, figure out ways to get through our murky waters, uncharted waters on our spiritual wellness journey. So this week we are talking about grief. Yesterday we started out with the good grief of Charlie Brown and looking at it and ways to process grief in a more positive and less heavy light. And we talked about there being 5 stages of grief that we're going to go through the information that was just provided to me last week, actually, by my clinical supervisor. And so as I'm breaking it down and preparing us for grief, because it is the end of the year, the holidays that get us in our feelings, when we start reminiscing or remembering the loss of a loved one that is no longer here, the loss of a loved one that is still alive, breathing, and well, that we just don't communicate with anymore, the loss of a pet, those of you who had miscarriages and lost children, those of you who are still fighting with the system to get your kids back. A loss is a loss, guys, and it causes us grief. And so we want to look at some positive ways to handle that grief when it becomes so much that it seems unbearable. So today's custom-made t-shirt simply says first aid, and it has the first aid emblem inside of a heart. And up under that, Real Talk Therapy 101. And so, let's get in. Come on, ladies, now let's get in formation. Okay. Our Coach accessories and bag of the day is, you guys have seen my travel backpack. I'm utilizing it today, transporting documents in my little file that goes along with a lot of stuff. And I'm not sure if I had featured the wristlet that matches all of this stuff. So inside this wristlet, I have flash drive after flash drive after flash drive. So have to keep up with paperwork, documents, all of that good stuff. And our shoes for the day are our Easter pink Vapor Max. So, alrighty, let's get here where we can talk a little bit today. Have a little conversation about anger, denial and anger. The first 2 stages of dealing with grief. And we all know that denial is that good old position we put ourselves in when we want to try to pretend like nothing's wrong, when we want to try to act like we don't have anything that we need to work on. I can't deny that it is time to get my hair done over. However, I'm not angry about it because this is Real Talk Therapy. We have a video daily, Monday through Friday. No matter what it is you got going on. And, I share with you guys, the smart thing would have been to pre-record the videos and stuff for the week, but your girl just wasn't there. Especially after not feeling well for a little while. So here it is, I cannot be in denial that I need a hairdo. Some of y'all out there go, oh, your hair's fine. And people say, oh, I like your hair. Don't lie to me. My hair dirty. I just got the braids out, and it'll be time to get them back in here soon, but still it's just like, okay, you can't deny that you want to do something different with your hair. You know, being angry about it, can't be angry because it's not like I had an appointment or something set up and it got canceled, or, you know, some stuff didn't work out. It was none of that stuff. And so denial and anger are feelings that we can experience in just everyday walks of life and everything that we have going on. And when we're experiencing those things, our heart aches, our insides ache. And so when you take any type of first aid training, or you have a first aid kit around your house, one of my sister-in-laws travels with an emergency and first aid kit, smartest thing in the world. But you have that kit so that you can repair or mend or fix something that hurts you physically and on the outside. But where's our first aid kit for when our hearts are hurting? And in that denial and anger stage, our hearts are hurting. Our insides start feeling ways that we've never felt before. We don't even understand what's going on. And how do you bandage your heart? And remember, I told you guys when we talked about Band-Aids some episodes back, Band-Aids are for temporary relief anyway. A wound needs to be open in order to heal. So when it comes to grief, in order to start processing the healing, we know that we're dealing with the denial and the anger, and it's hard for us to accept the reality of the loss, which is one of the first 4 tasks of going through mourning. You know, it's surreal. I have attended funerals of loved ones that even at the funeral, I found myself unable to leave the burial site until the dirt was put in and they were properly, you know, buried and covered. I found myself in those moments, and some of those moments I didn't even know I was in until loved ones told me afterwards. So I have, you know, got the news of the death of a loved one, went through that transitional period of making the arrangements. The arrangements were made. I have actually been the one to type the obituaries and have a hands-on, you know, part of when my father died. I didn't get the opportunity to do that. But when my 2 close uncles passed away who didn't have any children, and their nieces and nephews were like their children, I had that task of taking care of them while they were alive and well, and taking care of them when they transitioned and passed on. And I'm able to have this conversation with you guys now and not even feel like I want to cry. You know, so I knew I was still in denial and anger when I would still want to cry about just the fact that they passed away. It was nothing that could have, you know, nothing that I personally could have done to stop, you know, what I feel like was God ordained. We know that all of us have to go down that journey. You know, someday there's a lot of songs about it. But I mean, just the reality of being a human being in this day and time, at some point we transition on. I don't know what happens on the other side, but I know initially for my 2 uncles, which one was in March of 2021, the other one was in May of 2023, just those things and the anger that I felt wasn't geared toward anyone else. It was geared towards myself for a long time, because I'm like, why didn't I see this coming? Well, I wasn't supposed to see it coming. And so when people, you know, leave us physically and they die or succumb to this life, or when things end for us that we have gotten so used to for so long, when pets pass away, you know, we had 2 little chihuahuas that, oh man, they were like our kids. But as they got older and things started to happen and they got to the point of transitioning, it wasn't as hard as it was on me when we had our first pet, Aaron, some years ago, when I was just trying to get used to having a pet on the inside of the house, because I didn't have pets growing up. My husband did. So when Aaron passed away, it was really hard for me. Like, I was crying like somebody, you know, went away. And now I know in the denial and anger stage, I was angry at my husband for letting the dog out without a leash, and he ran and got hit by a school bus. But things happen, and like I said, this time around, when the other two dogs, they just got old, and they passed away, natural causes, what have you. But it wasn't as traumatic. It wasn't as hurtful. I wasn't in denial. I kind of seen it coming with them getting older and having their old age and taking them to the vet and learning these things that would happen to them. So sometimes when it's expected, you have a better chance of working through the denial part, and accepting it a little bit and not being angry when you recognize the source of what's going on. Sometimes you can be angry at people and feel like, the doctors at the hospital didn't do enough, or these people at this place didn't do enough, or if this person knew. No, we can't be angry with anybody, but we have to accept that grief, being angry, is a part of dealing with that. I mean, you can be upset even with your higher power, or, the belief of whatever your belief is on how we got here. If you think the atom busted or the Big Bang Theory or whatever, you can be mad at science when someone close to you dies, but you have to be able to understand the anger and understand how to channel it. One of my favorite movies, it's an old movie, and it's called What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Please put that in your streaming tools and what have you, and look at it when you get a chance. But Gilbert was the oldest sibling that his mom had, and because his mom was overweight and couldn't do but so much, Gilbert had the weight of taking care of his younger siblings. And then one of the siblings, which was Leonardo DiCaprio, played Gilbert's younger brother. I cannot think of his name, but he was, he had some challenges. He was mentally challenged, and he had some things. And Artie, his name was Artie, and he didn't quite understand when his mom couldn't get up out the bed, and he didn't understand certain things. And so the burden of raising this child while still being a early adult or a teenager himself, Gilbert had to take on the task of being a parent while going through all these different things and trying to understand why his mom just didn't do something about her situation, not realizing that, at this point, she's obese to the point where she didn't feel like there was anything else that could be done. But what happened throughout the movie, they did not expect their mom to die. And she ended up not being able to leave out of her room. She was embarrassed about her weight. She didn't want people to come in the house. It's a really good movie. And towards the end, when it came time to making arrangements for her and, having a service or what have you, Gilbert and his siblings made up in their mind to, cremate, but not the regular way. They didn't know how anybody was going to get their mom out of that house. They had to come from downstairs with her. And so the bright idea for them was to set the house on fire. But it was also allowing their mom to go out with a bang, to go out in flair and in style, and to not be embarrassed. So in a sense, it was to honor her. And other people may look at that like, you set the house on fire and burned your mom up. But you have to look at the story and follow the storyline. And poor Gilbert didn't have a chance to feel anything. Hence the name of it, What's Eating Gilbert Grape. He was never in a good mood because he never knew what he was going to have to deal with and how he was going to have to deal with it. Gilbert went through this movie angry and in denial of the fact that, his mom just wasn't able to do what normal parents, would do and take care of them the way that she should because of the choices she made for her physical health. And so, it's always hard to try to decipher and understand where someone else is coming from. But the bigger picture is to be able to respect it, because when you're dealing with those first early stages of grief, that part of denying, no, this can't be, they can't have died. This just cannot have taken place. And prior to my two uncles dying, it was just like our world was shook with all kinds of death. Pre-COVID, during COVID, I still, it's still hard for me to talk about some of my losses, but I've made it through that stage because I'm no longer denying the fact that these people who are very near and dear to me are no longer here, and they're no longer part of my daily routine in the sense that they used to be. And when I was able to get past the anger, we're going to talk tomorrow about bargaining and how to, make light or not even make light, how to start dealing with those feelings in a better, more healthier way. Because really and truly, what does first aid look like for your heart when it's broken? What does first aid look like for your heart when it feels ripped apart because something that meant so much to you is no longer here for you to enjoy? And so in that bargaining phase, you start looking for ways to deal with how to mend what I got going on the inside. And like I said, if those feelings and those things last longer, than a period of 10 days, you need to start looking at going to talk to somebody. I know at Scotland Memorial Hospital, they have different groups that you could join, different people who've gone through what you've gone through that can help you. And all of these different resources are free in my area. And so, you can look for things in your area to help you. But as long as you are still in the business of denial, you are not working through the ability to get through the second stage of anger so that you can get to a place of starting to bargain with your heart on, oh man, I know Christmas is coming up and this is what would have been if such and such was here with us. But because they're not, this is how we're going to celebrate now. This is what we're going to do. Because believe it or not, you end up going through these first three stages before you even encounter depression. A lot of stuff that people look at seasonal depression, it's denial and anger from still not being able to process what's been going on. And so I choose to isolate myself because I don't want to deal with people right now. I don't want to enjoy the festivities because I haven't learned how to bargain with my emotions to get to a place of truly dealing with that depression and being able to accept it on down into that later stage. So I want you guys to take some time today and, look up What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Look at that movie and realize that in some areas that you find yourself angry or annoyed with certain stuff, make sure it's not attached to your grief because you still haven't figured out how to manage that anger that comes from the denial and that upset feeling we have from losing someone or something that we love so much that now we need first aid on our hearts. We need to have a conversation and learn different ways, to deal with that. So I want you guys to, just fully embrace what grief looks like and try to understand what, if anything, you could be grieving over. And if you are a support system for someone that is going through grief, now is a good time to check on that individual. Remember, like I said yesterday, sometimes if you don't know what to say, don't say anything at all. Just let them know that you're there. You're a part of, their process in any way that you can assist them. Because sometimes we say the wrong things. Might have good intentions, but you end up saying the wrong things. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later on too, because that could cause anger as well. Somebody telling me, oh, you're going to be okay. You're the strong one. You got to be strong. No, I don't have to be strong for anybody. I have to find strength to be able to be okay myself. And that's what we have to be able to tell people, because we give the aura that we're good and strong and we can manage and handle it. But can we really? Have we really had that conversation, with ourselves? How strong are you? And then who helps mend broken hearts? What's the first aid for the broken heart. And sometimes it is time alone. Sometimes, because after the service, nobody's coming over anymore. Nobody's bringing things to the house and making sure you ate and seeing how you're doing. Now you're just left with those feelings and that emptiness and those emotions. And so you have to process through them. And sometimes it may require you to isolate and figure out what that looks like. But more importantly, it may require you to have a conversation with a licensed clinical or a professional counselor or a licensed clinical social worker or a licensed clinician to help you start processing what this feels like and how you begin to live with it, because it may never go away. So be open and honest with that, and be in a place of wanting to receive and be receptive of the fact, hey, I'm mad and it's hard for me to accept this and I need some help. So thank you guys for stopping by. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe, like, share, comment. And if you know of some ways that others can provide first aid to their heart, if you know of some websites or some worksheets or things that individuals can work on to help them with their grief, please share it in the comments so that we can help those around the world get prepared for, these joyous occasions that you celebrate in the month of December, regardless of what your spiritual, religious belief is or just your personal belief. So be safe, and I look forward to seeing you guys on tomorrow. Bye.